Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Smart Indian Agriculture on the Federal.com. I am Vivian Fernandez. The sugar industry used to be a cyclical industry. Periods of boom would alternate with periods of bust. Sugar prices are market determined, but the prices of sugarcane, which is 70% of the cost of sugar, are set by governments, often at levels that sugar prices cannot support. But that is changing. The cycles are getting elongated as ethanol used for blending with petrol is providing a cushion. Last year, while sugar mills paid 1.18 lakh crore rupees for cane, they earned 18,000 crore rupees from ethanol. Climate change concerns and the pressure on India to shrink its carbon footprint is changing the economics of the sugar industry. Our guest today is Mr. Roshan Lal Tamak, Executive Director and CEO of DCM Shriram's Sugar Division. DCM Shriram has four sugar mills in central UP in Lakhimpur Kheri and Hardoi districts. Mr. Tamak is a veteran of the industry with about 4 decades of experience both nationally and internationally. Mr. Tamak, welcome to this program.
Thank you. Thank you, Evan. Thank you very much.
Mr. Tamak, first of all, let me congratulate you on DCM Shriram celebrating his 25th anniversary, the 25th anniversary of the sugar business. You were an important part of that journey. 25 years ago, in November 1997, the company's first sugar mill in Ajbapur in Lakhimpur Kheri district commenced production. You were its manager then and were closely engaged in cane development. Can you give us a snacking view of those early days, setting up the mill and doing cane development in a setting where 89% of the population was rural?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Fernandez, for giving this opportunity to share my views. And you have taken me back into history lanes. At that point of time when we decided to venture into sugar business in central UP, the varieties over there were rejected ones. So we initiated a lot of intensive cane development activities to replace those varieties, and an intensive campaign to train farmers was also initiated, and those activities were scaled up at a very, very good scale so that the outreach is effective with the growers.
Mhm. When a sugar mill asks farmers to grow sugarcane, it's actually giving them a promissory note because farmers have to invest in a cane crop for about 12 months. They do all the expenditure, and the money in the form of cane payments comes at the end of those 12 months. So, there has to be a lot of trust on the part of the farmers in the mill, and of course in the mill in farmers. So how did you ensure that farmers grew cane to feed your growing business? Because when you started with one mill, the capacity was 2,500 tons crush per day. Now it is 41,000 crush per day, and there are four mills in close to each other. So how did you get farmers to grow sugarcane 25 times over from, I think the initial year 22 lakh quintals was crushed, and last year about 555 lakh quintals, which is 25 times over. So how did you get farmers to trust you to, to grow cane?
So the basic philosophy of our group has been to work in harmony with the farmers. And one thing is very fundamental in sugar business, that the interests of sugar cane growers and sugar factory are complementary and supplementary to each other. With this premise, there are, if I summarize it simply in Hindi, tol, mol, and bol. These three words should be kept always, we should keep into our focus. Toll means there has to be, as far as transaction is concerned, it should be transparent and ethical. Second is mole, means you should try to pay to the farmers well in time. And third, bowl, means your behavior with the farmers should be very courteous, and you should be seen helping them, and genuinely you should try to help them out. So if we work in all those three principles, certainly that trust factor is established, and trust is the starting point of everything.
Mhm. Is this principle followed in general by the sugar industry? Because we also find a lot of cane areas, farmers complaining about payments not being made in time. Of course, some of it is because sugarcane prices are set at a high rate.
So if you see the track record of the Indian sugar industry, during last 4 or 5 years, there has been a sea change. As you have mentioned yourself that earlier the revenues were mainly dependent on sugar and the sugar industry was cyclical. But now that cycle is no more there, and the cash flows have improved of the industry due to ethanol basically. And now you can see that the track record of cane price payment is quite satisfactory with most of the sugar mills. There are a few exceptions due to some other reasons, but by and large, the performance has been very good in the recent past.
Is that also because in UP, maybe perhaps politics has become less competitive, and now we find that the state advised prices, which was the prices which sugar mills had to pay to the cane farmers, they used to be very high compared to the nationally set prices, which is known as the FRP or the SMP. At one time, I think in 2008, 2009, the state advised price was about 70% higher than the price set by the central government. But of late, we have seen that they move in tandem, and cane prices, sugarcane prices, have been more or less flat.
So there have been, it has to be seen slightly from different angle. See, CSCP in its report has mentioned time and again that the relative economics of sugarcane crop is much better than any other competing cropping pattern. So this is a fundamental this thing which we need to understand. Sugarcane has also other benefits like 100% disposal is there, timely payment is there, and moreover, it can withstand the climatic adversities as well. So one can very well say that sugarcane is a preferred crop by the of the sugarcane growers. So that is one aspect. Secondly, sugarcane price has to be also seen in correlation with the sugar prices. So both these things have to be kept into consideration. And I think this entire issue of cane pricing needs to be seen in this context.
Mhm. Sir, of late, in the past 5 years at least, uh, retail prices of sugar have been almost flat. I mean, there have been some fluctuations, but they are generally flat. Similarly with cane prices. So can we say now that the price you're getting for sugar is a viable price?
No, ISMA has been, it is not viable from that perspective. And the industry bodies uh, have been pursuing with the government that there has to be an increase in the minimum selling price of sugar, though the current market prices are higher than the minimum selling price of sugar, but the cost of production is much higher. This is different in different zones. So, but revision in minimum selling price of sugar is the need of the hour, and it should commensurate with the cost of production.
Mhm. Now, India is structurally surplus in sugar, which was not the case when you started, 25 years ago. Over the past 20 years, I find that sugar production has grown by an annual increase of 5.677%, but consumption has increased annually by about 2.6%. So, what is the way out? Do you think that exports are the way out?
So exports are not the way out on permanent basis. Exports are opportunistic, but here I must compliment Government of India for bringing out this ethanol blending program, which is a very progressive policy. And ethanol is the permanent way out because for crude we depend on imports, and for a country of magnitude like India, this magnitude, so certainly energy dependence should not be there on any other foreign countries. So this is a welcome step and very good progressive policy. And diversion of sugar is a time tested this technology, so that is not an issue. And industry is expanding like anything and supporting this ethanol blending program. And this is the permanent solution to this excess stock of sugar.
Mhm. By diversion, you mean diversion of sugarcane juice to the production of ethanol.
Correct.
Now, why are you saying that exports are not a solution? Is that because we are a high cost producer?
No, it is. It will depend upon the international global sugar production. So, global sugar production, what is the status? Like sometimes it is there is deficit, sometimes there is surplus. So that's why I'm saying that it is opportunistic. However, for a uh, for a country like India, where domestic consumption of crude is petrol products is so much there, so market is huge. So this opportunity is very much there for the industry also, and it is win-win for everybody, whether it is government, whether it is climate, whether it is farmers, everybody is it is win-win for everybody.
No, why are you saying that exports are not a solution? Is that because there is globally excess sugar production?
Yes, that's why I am saying at times there is deficit, that time there is opportunity, but at times there is surplus. And global competitiveness, as you have touched rightly, competitiveness of the cost of production is not there. India is the highest cost producer due to higher cane price. So that's why globally we are not competitive as far as exports are concerned.
So far, we have been exporting with some subsidies given by the government, but the WTO has said that we cannot persist with those subsidies from December 2023 onwards. So, if subsidies have to be given, how will they have to be done differently?
No, frankly, that is not my domain. I cannot comment on that subject authoritatively. But what I can certainly say that in terms of quality, yes, Indian sugar is quite good. Uh, and as far as efficiencies are concerned, efficiencies are good. However, this cane price is again is not under our purview. Industry is well placed for exports, but it is ultimately the matter of economics and viability.
Mhm. Sir, regarding ethanol, currently we have achieved, I think, about 10.6% or 10.1% of ethanol blending with petrol. And the government has advanced the time period for 25%, 20% blending to 2025 from 2030. By 2025, it wants to achieve 20% ethanol blending. But this blending to be viable also depends on the international crude prices. International crude prices are currently high, but they may not remain high for a long time. So, do you think that when crude prices fall, ethanol blending will still be viable for the government?
Uh, Actually, uh, this is government takes a holistic view of the whole thing, and because there is a question of Indian industry also, there is a question of energy security also, there is a question of saving of foreign exchange is also there. So I think the way so far government has taken decision, government has taken a very holistic view, not simply related to any this price of international prices of crude, etc. And I firmly believe that government will continue to take a holistic view while deciding the ethanol prices. So basis that only at this point of time I can say only this thing.
So you think that because we are so much dependent on imports for petroleum, the government would like to reduce that dependence for strategic reasons, and that is why you think that their ethanol production, ethanol sales will continue to be an important stream of revenue for the sugar mills.
Absolutely. And in fact, not only this thing, let me restate it because this is a very important aspect. One, ethanol is homemade, it supports agriculture in a big way. Third, it saves foreign exchange. Fourth, it ensures energy security. And fifth, and it is an environmentally friendly fuel. And sixth, it helps in making India and industrialization and job creation is very much there. So this is a win-win for all stakeholders.
Yes. See, sir, 1996, 97, when you started the sugar business as DCM Shriram, of course, the Erstwhile, DCM group was into sugar production earlier, liberalization had started. Now, one of the buzz phrases of economic liberalization is trickle down. But we find that over the past 30 years, very little, not much income has trickled down to the poor. We have got a large number of poor people, and there's a large amount of inequality also in the country. But we find that in the case of sugar industry, I mean, the money goes directly into the pockets of farmers who are the suppliers to the sugar mills. So, in that sense, do you agree that growth in the sugar industry is much more poverty reducing than, let's say, growth in other manufacturing sectors?
Absolutely. And I have seen this sector so closely at all levels since last 35 years. I can very well say that this industry is a proven catalyst for rural and economic growth. And as you have rightly said, there is no intermediation over in this industry. Entire money is transferred directly to the farmer's bank account. And this direct transfer in this industry in Uttar Pradesh also is prevalent since last 23 years. So this is not a new one. Secondly, as I mentioned previously in my comments, that there is 100% surety of disposal. There is monitoring of cane price payment, and also, above all, there is continuous and 24/7 engagement with the farmer community. We help them in their cane development activities in productivity enhancement. So there is a seamless linkage with the growers community. So that way, this industry is a unique one, and certainly it is instrumental in the overall economic growth of rural India, where sugarcane is grown as a crop.
Over the past 25 years, what kind of change have you seen in the areas around your sugar mills in both Lakhimpur Kheri and Hardoi, both of which were predominantly rural and continue to be predominantly rural? At one time, the 90% of the population was in rural areas. Now, there has been a slight change, but not much change. So, what kind of change in the economic status of the people have you seen?
So there is a sea change. I don't subscribe to this with all humility that there is not much change. There is a sea change, because those pictures and those experiences are very well in my mind as on date as well. So people now have got pakka houses, most of them. They have many tractors. Thousands of tractors are purchased every year. Pumping sets are being purchased every year. And now people are having, their quality of life has improved in terms of whether these are bikes or cars or their children education or their medical facilities. You can see the market in Hardoi city also, where we operate in about 60% of area. You can see all the brands are present over there. For example, for a group like ours in that compact zone, we are almost sending back approximately 2,000 crores rupees every year. And that money is reflecting in everything, whatsoever you do, whether it is agriculture or there is quality of life. There is a sea change.
When I said not much change, I mentioned in the change in the rural population. It was 90% at one time, and now I think it is come down, but it's still above 50%, I would imagine. Now the thing is
Understood.
that, yeah. Now the thing is, lot of people, I mean, the children of these farmers, because of the increased prosperity, they are migrating to the cities. They are getting education, and they don't want to do agriculture. They want to do other things which are much more paying. So, who's going to do sugarcane farming in the years to come? Have you given a thought to that? And what is the way out?
So absolutely, and you are very right, Mr. Fernandez, in that context. And this is a progressive change, and which will increase in times to come. So, what is the way out then? The way out is two. One, the broad theme is how can we ensure ease of doing agriculture. So that is our philosophy. And this is being facilitated by two ways. One, propagation of mechanization and embedding technology into agriculture. So these are the two ways. And at DCM Shriram, we have taken very substantive steps in these two directions. We have developed micro entrepreneurs, about 209 micro entrepreneurs have been developed for developing this custom hiring model, in under which the implements are being rented out for the people who are not having those. And also we have engaged with one company, EM3, for just to work like the Uberization of agriculture machinery, I call it. On the lines of Uber, you can just use your agriculture machinery. So this is one. Secondly, embedding technology, we are taking steps for digitalization in agri-value chain. We have set up a call center also, which is being extensively used by the farmers. There are multiple steps in digitalization which we have taken just to ensure this ease of doing sugarcane cultivation and supply.
See, unlike in Thailand and Brazil, where farmers are paid according to the sugar content of sugarcane, in India you pay by weight. And just because you buy more cane doesn't mean that you get more sugar. So, what kind of steps have you taken to improve the sugar content of sugarcane as well as to increase the yield? Because both these have a bearing on how long a sugar mill will operate in a year, and of course, how efficient it will be.
So let me touch upon first yield. For yield, there are 3-4 areas of focus. Clearly, ratoon management is one area where the productivity of ratoon crop is lower. So there are multiple practices like spraying is there, ratoon management operations are there. So there are multiple activities in that particular aspect. Second is that on the method of planting, trench planting is being propagated, in which 10 to 15% yield increase is definitely there. And third is replacement of varieties. Which varieties are not performing well, we are replacing it with promising variety, good varieties. And besides this, we are also taking other steps like drip irrigation, for example, with fertigation. So we have started popularizing it so that farmers are consuming less water and less fertilizer, however, getting more yield. So these are the steps being taken by us as far as yield is concerned. Coming to recovery, in recovery, there are 3-4 aspects on which we are working. One is replacement of varieties, good varieties. Second is that the cut to crush time, how can we squeeze that time? Because this is a live material and contamination starts as you cut it. So we are educating farmers as well that if you reduce this time, your yield will also be better. So that is the focus area. And third, of course, is balanced nutrition to the crop. Because if you provide balanced nutrition to the crop, not only its yield will be better, but also recovery will be better. So these are the few steps. The list is long, but I am just summarized it in few words.
Yeah. Now, there was a blockbuster variety. There is a blockbuster variety developed by the Sugarcane Breeding Institute, Coimbatore, Dr. Bakshiram. And that blockbuster variety, CO0238, now has been infected by red rot, and the red rot has spread extensively. So, I mean, can you sustain that variety, or do you think that you'll have to go for a replacement variety?
So we are working on both the fronts because, as you mentioned, that this is blockbuster variety, and such varieties are rarely there in the history. If you see the back 5 decades of Indian sugar sector, you can count those good varieties on fingertips, 5-6 varieties. So that's why we need to maintain the health of this variety, or how can we rejuvenate this variety. So that is clearly the focus, but not at the cost of factories or farmers' interest. So that is one. And for that, we are working on all three areas: prevention, curation, and rejuvenation. So those three areas are being taken care, and various steps are being taken and practices are being introduced,
Mhm.
like soil treatment, seed treatment, roguing, uh, and then crop rotation, everything. Those steps are being taken. Second is, but we cannot remain dependent on that. So we have to find some alternatives as well. So we have identified, and at sugar mills, industrials uh, association level also, centrally also, we are coordinating with all the research stations of India, all states, that which are the promising cultivars which the scientists have developed just now. So we are evaluating those varieties, and whatsoever varieties are good for farmers as well as factories, we are just shortlisting them and releasing them for commercial cultivation and trials.
The sugarcane is a water-intensive crop, and from a climate change perspective, we need to reduce water usage. And when I was in Lakhimpur Kheri and Hardoi, I did not see farmers going in for drip irrigation. Perhaps also because there's a lot of subsoil water available at a high level. What are the ways have you introduced? What are the practices have you introduced to reduce water use in sugarcane as well as fertilizer use?
So we have taken three, four steps. One, let me first touch upon fertilizer use. So for fertilizers, we have mainly propagated urea, this spray, urea compensated spray, we call it. Basically, it is foliar spray. And foliar spray, we use liquid fertilizer at times or a mixture of micronutrients. So with the help of drone and tractor mounted sprayers, we are extensively spraying our crop, and this year approximately 65,000 hectare have been sprayed. So that is one sure set way of reducing fertilizer consumption. Second is fertigation. You are right that it is not getting traction, particularly in Uttar Pradesh, where in abundance water is available. So, but we have to change the mindset of people that it is available. We should not treat that this is available so we can consume any quantity of water. So basically, from three angles, we are three objectives we are educating farmers. One, drip irrigation consumes less water, and as a responsible citizen, it is our duty to conserve water. Second, it reduces the fertilizer consumption, and third, it increases the yield, and this is sure and certain. So the overall value proposition has to be communicated to the farmers, and for propagation of this, we are considering it a challenge. For that purpose, we have tied up with two top global companies of drip irrigation, Natafim and Revolution, and we are working with them very closely in our area, and we are working on this drip irrigation campaign very actively.
Mhm. What about growing sugarcanes in a manner where there's minimal disturbance of soil and also where you recycle crop residues? I mean, have you been doing those things at your catchment area?
On very big scale, and this is one subject which is close to our heart, that how can we give back to mother soil, and again on extensive basis we are mulching, shredding the trash and then mulching it back into the soil. We are using the press mud and using in the form of compost, and we have set up about 17,000 compost pits also, and used this press mud, garbage, municipal waste, and other waste, and to convert into compost and using it as a manure. And I'm happy to share with you that in our area, practically there is no residue burning in our area. We are working on this aspect since last 7-8 years. And with all those efforts, like I mentioned just a few moments back, and these efforts, we have been able to save about more than 700 billion liter of water in last 6 years in our catchment area. And this has been authenticated and validated by Indian Institute of Sugarcane Research, Lucknow.
All right. That's very nice to know, Mr. Tamak. We are running out of time. Thank you very much for those insights. And congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.